travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
Hi, Professor Wong, and thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. This is going to be the Golden Girls Management Skills Project. My name is Haley Cornelison. I'm currently a senior that's hopefully going to graduate at the end of this semester if you pass me, and receive my BA in Arts Administration. Really would like to expand my knowledge in arts management and curatorial studies and direction. I'm also the president of my on-campus organization, Amplifying the Arts. So this class has been really beneficial in analyzing my managerial skill as well as kind of looking at the mirror, which has been an experience. And then next we have Catherine, if you want to go.
Hi. Right now, I am a senior, hopefully going to graduate April of 2021 as long as things go accordingly. I am going to get my business administration degree, and I have a concentration in human resource management. So this class has definitely been a big help to kind of see where I am, what I want to work on, and things that I already have a pretty good understanding of. This has now allowed me to expand that knowledge even more. And then we have Lindsay.
Hi, I am a senior. I should graduate in December of this year with a BBA, General Business. I am excited to use the skills that we've covered in this class to better my management skills overall and to help me find the career that I am passionate about. Next we have Courtney.
Hello, I'm Courtney, and I'm a senior. This is my last class. In this class, I was able to expand my knowledge with just like thinking about like hands-on issues that I have experienced and just others that can arise. I'm going for business administration, and this class was great so far.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. So we'll actually, we'll go head right into it. So we were tasked with conducting a series of interviews over the course of several weeks so we could assess the current situation that managers are facing in light of the coronavirus. The COVID-19 pandemic has actually affected our class to the point where we have been moving everything to online telecommunications. So this has provided us a unique opportunity to kind of get inside a manager's head, that sort of thing, and see how they would react into a real life situation that is high stress. The interviewed managers were asked to reflect on management skills while answering their questions, and we developed several of them to input into our report. Those are going to be problem solving, handling conflict, leading positive change, stress management, and team building. And then in the presentation, we're going to showcase why we chose these interview questions and how they relate to those skills.
So the first question that we had was, how has COVID affected your business? Which that was a problem-solving skill. The order that we have these questions aren't necessarily important from this question on. The reason we did have this one first is because it was obviously a very important question. Since COVID affected everybody differently, we needed to be able to establish a baseline of who was affected and how, because some jobs weren't even open while others really had to change up how they went about their work life. And then with that, we kind of looked at COVID as just a big problem that needed to be solved. And again, some managers were more creative than others, and some were able to adjust and continue operations while others weren't. So with that, We suggested that our set of interviewees pay close attention to the 4-step analytical problem-solving model from Chapter 3.
And the second question we decided to go with is, how does your business plan to protect its employees from COVID-19 and its consumers? We came with this with leading positive change. We thought this was a great question because we felt that COVID-19 everyone felt that it's very, it's the unknown, and as well as like we want to know like how our employers protecting their employees. So leading positive change is a key to unlocking full human potential, creating abundance, and overall human well-being. So we decided to come with this question and to be as detailed as possible. So I feel like the feedback that we got from these questions was very detailed in how companies have started to change their everyday procedures, and even some companies not even being able to operate. What motivates employees as well. So basically making sure we are like keeping employees happy and like their stress level as well. And then the third question is, do you think your employees are happy with how your business handled the effects of the virus with employees and consumers? So the feedback that we got from this question, majority of it was basically everybody was okay with closing. They kind of closed like all of a sudden. Some people had like a week to get everything together and close. Others had like just no notice and they were just closed. So to say like, did the employees kind of handle it? The employer, I'm sorry, kind of handle it correctly. I just feel like they kind of just acted out of what they could do best. So this one, some of the feedback we got was like from my employer, we were open from like the start of March, and then they gave us till the 13th, and we had to close doors at several locations, and we were only able to keep 3 locations open. Question 4, what kinds of policies do you have in place for when employees are sick and unable to come in? With this one's falls under handling conflicts. And a lot of employees or employers had it in place where the employee would have to stay home. So at our job, we have to have you reach out to employee health services, and you have to be quarantined if you're having COVID symptoms. So if you answer yes to any of the COVID symptoms like sneezing, coughing, anything like that, then you will have to reach out to employee health services and quarantine for 14 days and also have a COVID-19 test.
So the 5th question that we had was, during these difficult/busy times due to COVID-19, what actions have you taken to keep your employees motivated to come to work? This one was obviously an important question because during class we learned that motivation helps lead to higher performance, and especially with COVID kind of being such a stressful time, everything like that, I could definitely tell that motivation would not be at its highest, and that it would be up to the managers to be able to motivate their employees to get the highest amount of performance possible. And I felt too, you can kind of learn a lot about a manager's skills based on how they motivate their employees, especially during a pandemic. And so it'd be an important thing for all of us as a team, the Golden Girls, to be able to really see how these managers acted and maybe be able to find a way that we can reflect on those responses to, if God forbid there ever were be a pandemic again, us as managers would be able to take a different route to motivate our employees rather than what some of these managers might have done, or we could follow what they did. With that, most managers we interviewed did respond that they showed a lot more appreciation, pay increase, or they just weren't able to respond due to their businesses being closed.
Question 6 is actually going to relate directly to our team building skill. It says, what is something positive that you have seen in between interactions between coworkers? What is something negative? Was it influenced by the COVID-related work stress or something else? What is something you would have done differently to influence the situation? And now you might have noticed that was kind of a lot of questions at once, but really we wanted to ask all of these at the same time because I feel like they're kind of all in the same vein where you need to have a good force of communication behind your team building strategies. So we decided that communication is something that is highly important. I personally think it would be, especially in times such as these, the first thing I always ask my new management team when I go into a new job is management on the same page in terms of communication? Because when you work in a position where they are not on the same page, often you're going to find different types of instruction or variance, and it just creates a stressful work environment for the employee. Double this with the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is something that we really wanted to get into. Being able to observe interactions and develop strategies to combat the pandemic, both inside and outside store operations, would really be a testament or a credit to a manager's skill in handling conflict and communication, especially with a team that is under high stress. And then an example of this, Megan Pytuck from McShane's Irish Pub and Whiskey Bar says that she has seen coworkers continue to interact via social media. So when we do reopen, it'll be easy to bring most people back. Now, I do actually work at this establishment, and I will tell you that everybody did come back. We reopened on Monday, and everybody did actually come to the store meeting and everything. So that was something positive that we have seen between interactions and coworkers, and that directly related to this skill. Leading into that, with question 7, so what do we do after the pandemic? What do you see in the future, perhaps a month, 6 months, and then a year for the business fiscally and socially? This one was a big one because it seemed like in the report, not a lot of managers had, at least in the ones that I interviewed, didn't have the scope to imagine this just because of the stress that was taking place already with the pandemic. We asked this question because the sustainability of an operation is always at the forefront, at least in my mind, especially in terms of business, because if you're not doing well financially, you're not doing well in the community, you're not doing well with your image that's established, then you're not going to do well as an organization. It's important to keep a credible image in the community so you continue to have this support after COVID-19. So after just a few weeks into the COVID-19 pandemic, it seemed like, at least my experience being an essential worker, watching essential managers, many were like lost without hope, but their outlook on the future is usually vague or optimistic. For instance, you have Zach Swan, who's a manager for SkyMint in Ann Arbor, saying that the Ann Arbor location will be doing double its sales in a year, but also commenting that, no, sir, I don't like it, when talking about his overall takeaway on the situation. So this question is kind of important to this because it lays out the groundwork for the future of your establishment and your employees. You don't want to mess with uncertainty because that would just be like plans for not to go well.
So then the next question that we had would be, many people are talking about how once the pandemic is over, we can be more sustainable in what we do. Have you or your company come up with any measures to make sustainability changes to the way that you work or what you distribute? And that would be leading positive change. Because with that, one thing that a lot of people started to notice is after we were indoors, not even just in America, worldwide, after a few weeks, I don't want to say the grass was greener on the other side, but the grass really was greener on the other side. There was less pollution, there was less garbage strewn about, everything like that. And with this new change in environment, people and some larger companies have actually been trying to do things to become more sustainable, using reusable bags instead of grocery bags, things like that. Just small changes to make a big impact. And so by asking this question to managers in our everyday life, I felt that it would either show the ways they are changing or allow them to see the chance to reassess how we go about our lives to have a lighter impact on the environment. For example, when I interviewed Michelle Gessner, who works for the Monroe Center for Healthy Aging, she didn't really think about sustainability at all. And when I talked to her later, since I do personally know her, she actually talked to her manager about ways that they could use, reusable containers whenever they have lunches that they bring up to their residents, everything like that. Just small steps to really move forward. And she wouldn't have thought of that if it wasn't for this question being brought up. And then when it came to the answers given by the managers, initially a lot of the responses weren't what I was expecting when I came up with this question, since most of them dealt with being prepared for another instance of a pandemic happening. But overall, I hope this question did spark an interest in some to try to find ways to become more sustainable.
So question 9, has COVID opened any doors or inspired any new ideas that you will continue to implement when this is all over? So this question correlates with leading positive change because obviously in order to stay afloat right now, businesses were pretty much required to adjust their models and pretty much do whatever they could to adjust to our new normal. With that being said, I wanted to know if there were any unexpected benefits that happened because of this pandemic. So this kind of goes hand in hand with Catherine's question that she was just talking about with sustainability, because there are obviously a lot of new techniques and different things that managers have been implementing. So the general consensus was yes, COVID has changed the overall operations of every business manager that we interviewed, whether they realized it or not at the time. So from take and bake carry out food, such as Alley Food and Spirits, or virtual elementary education, the innovation has been imperative and proven positive as well. I personally have been very impressed by the innovation and creativity that the different businesses have come up with in order to adjust these past few months. Question 10, what challenges have been the hardest to overcome? We categorize this question as problem solving instead of handling conflict, because when you're presented with a challenge, you should definitely seek out multiple solutions to the problem before jumping to what you think is the best solution, because oftentimes we find out later that that is not actually the best solution. So out of genuine curiosity, I wanted to know about the hardest part of this whole situation for everybody that we interviewed, just to get like a really raw insight on what they all thought about everything. And because we interviewed such a wide variety of individuals, obviously every business faced their own set of unique challenges and mountains, so it was very unique to see the different perspectives. In my opinion, problem solving has been the most imperative skill for a manager to possess since the onset of the COVID pandemic, because, for instance, Alley Food and Spirits was unable to overcome some obstacles and continue their operations, so they had to close down mid-March and stop operations, whereas a lot of other restaurants in the area were continuing carry-out and delivery services and able to continue their business through the pandemic. And the final question, what has been your overall takeaway? What has this pandemic and the challenges that come with it taught you about your business and or management style? This one we categorize as stress management because it's really just a personal takeaway, Obviously everybody probably viewed this pandemic in a different lens than the person next to them, so their takeaways have definitely been unique and different and personal. So we really got a really good insight as to how these managers were able to cope with the pandemic and the stress, because if absolutely nothing else, this pandemic has taught us that there is no certainty. Every day it feels like the CDC goes back and forth on, whether or not social distancing actually makes a difference, or whether or not masks and hand sanitizer actually make a difference. So it's really unsure, and we don't know when this is going to end or if this is going to end and what our new normal will look like from now on. So yeah, it's been a really big eye opener, this whole interview experience with COVID going on and getting to see an insight into such a wide variety of different managers.
That about wraps up, I think, all of the questions that we included in the report. Obviously, we did not touch on every single manager's reply just because there were simply a lot, but in the report that correlates with our presentation, we will have detailed accounts from all of the managers. We developed a wide range of managerial skills that afforded us a unique opportunity to assess and hear from managers during this pandemic. And then through this, we were able to amass a diverse range of answers. We had people from business representatives to I'm the front of the house manager at a bar, from standardized and hopeful to less than stellar communicative efforts and a grim outlook towards the future. We as the Golden Girls stand behind and endorse the skills of problem solving, handling conflict, leading positive change, stress management, and team building. And then I think that about concludes our presentation. Does anybody else have anything to say before we sign off?
No?
No? Okay, great. Well, we have been the Golden Girls. Thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Wong, and we will look forward to hearing from you about this soon.
Bye, thank you.